episode of Speakers of Eidolon is made possible by our generous patrons. Special thanks to our supreme and master speakers, Omega Cat Comet, Erisu Yamakawa, Alex Franco AV, Winebow Brood, Psyche, Azuta Starbreeze, Cletus Oreo, Nina Grimsdaughter, Lily Black, Bob CC, Mikto Rottentau, Sapa Chakwatol, Edwin, Arcadia Lunarshine, Umbral Wind, Quick Levin, Pamela Isley, Camille Grino, Elendriel Maximus, Codrith Novelist, Mira Miri, Suno Chicano, Celestau Notrell, Lazy Boy, A Wild Sarah, Luke Osborne, Pandalu Stormarrow, Tex, Kylin, Anathus, Moonscar, Arthur Law, Beridan Derard, Cypup, Spencer Christmas, Noy Fafner, Cheshire Soltiri, Celine DeLune, Wubsta Wolf, Face on Masher, Severa, Circuit Barrakiel, and AJ Brainswordson. Support the show and become a patron today at patreon.com/speakersxiv. Thank you.
This is Speakers of Eidolon.
Good evening, Aorcians. Welcome to Speakers of Eidolon, episode 327. I'm Lakeel Bravestone, and I'm joined today by Georgi Wiston and Rollo Dez.
Hello.
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 Yeah, Mela is not here. He is away. He'll be back on Wednesday.
He's in the fjords.
So he is not in the fjords. It is November 26th, 2022, and it is episode 327, like I said. I did say 300 this time. It's happening.
You did.
It's happening. This episode, we're going to have a great discussion, and we're going to discuss what makes a good zone. Now that we're... we can start theorizing about new zones, so why not talk about what makes a good zone, what we want in a new zone. We will also continue the Foxclon interview series that we started, part 3 today, and we will also be reading your MogMail, speakersxiv.com/MogMail. Stay tuned for the post-show. It is the beefiest questions from the Syndicate in a long time, so we have lots of stuff to talk about. Stay tuned for that if you're watching live. All right, let's jump into recent events. Right, in recent events, congratulations everyone. We won Best Game Community in the Golden Joystick Awards.
Joystick.
That.
I don't remember who we were up against. Fortnite?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure we're up against Fortnite. Genshin Impact, maybe?
Maybe.
Destiny 2?
Sure.
Perhaps?
Destiny 2, probably, yeah.
Yeah. No Man's Sky. Okay. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to play a video, but I just noticed it's the 40th Golden Joystick Awards. That's 40 years of that show. What on earth? How is that even possible?
They've been having it since 1982?
Oh, 82. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we've
great,
had video games since then.
So Golden Joystick existed as a magazine before, I would assume.
Yeah, I would assume. Yes.
That's got to be like a real enthusiast kind of thing, even back then. Be like, oh, well, let me get the latest Golden Joystick or whatever. The
magazine. I wonder. I need to know more about this now. This intrigues me. That must be one of the oldest video game awards that exists, probably.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. All right. Well, Yoshi P has some stuff to say about this, so let's hear it from the man himself. Obviously, for audio listeners, you're about to be exposed to Japanese, so enjoy that. Here we go.
皆さんこんにちは。ファイナルファンタジー14プロデューサー兼ディレクターの吉田です。今回はベストゲームコミュニティという大変素晴らしい賞をいただきまして誠にありがとうございます。開発者としてというよりはですね、MMORPG という巨大なオンラインゲームを運営している人間として実はこの賞がもしかしたら一番嬉しいのかなと。 何よりもまあたくさんのオンラインゲームがある中でそのゲームを中心に集まったコミュニティプレイヤーの皆さんが何よりも素晴らしいというふうに、言っていただけているショーなので、まあ、僕らが作っているゲームを中心に集まってくださった皆さんが、まあ、それだけ活気あふれて人に優しくですね一緒にゲームを楽しんでいるということ自体が非常に素晴らしいと思っております。ファイナルファンタジー14いよいよ、申請から10年を迎え来年10周年の年となります。ファンフェスも含めいろんなことをやっていきますのでぜひゲーム内外、コミュニティの皆さんまた一緒に盛り上がっていきましょう。ありがとうございます。
All right, there it is.
For those watching the video, you could see, well, for those that couldn't see, Yoshi was repping that Alexander McQueen.
Oh yes, he was. Yeah, so good. Not much to say. Obviously, the big. Strangely, even though this is such an old award, such an old award, the biggest one I think is the one that's coming up, which is the Video Game Awards. That's the most prestigious one, I feel like, because it's more trying to emulate the Oscars, I guess, or like any like Academy Award show. So that's coming up on December 11th. Shit, I never remember 8th. I think it's the 8th. Uh-oh, why did I bring that up? Now I need to fact check myself. It's on the 8th.
Live.
It's the 9th. It's the 9th.
Oh fuck, it's the night of. Yeah. So it's night.
I think it's the 8th for America. It's the 9th for us.
Yes, there it is. 8 for America, 9. Okay, I'm not going to say anything else. You heard what Georgi said. That is what it is. All right, moving on. Anyways, congratulations, everyone. We won. We did it. We're the best. Let's continue where we left off with Foxclon. I found it very fascinating to read his story last week, so we're just going to jump in. I'm assuming we're just continuing where we left off. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's jump in. Like the command center of a spaceship. So if you remember, we talked about how his work as a GM last week and how that role evolved with 11 from Ultima Online. So now we're going forward in time. Following the release of Rise of the Xylart, Final Fantasy XI was finally launched in North America in October 2003. Did that change anything about your work?
What's Rise of the Xylart?
It's the first expansion for 11.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a really uninviting name.
Yeah, I guess Xylart isn't a very nice...
I think Xylart is a very alienating term. I don't think it'd ever be at all appealing to anyone that hasn't played the game.
Right, yeah.
It sounds like a fucking Star Trek movie, like one of the
bad does.
Ones.
Yeah. Foxclon says the most noticeable change was an increase in communications with the North American team. Our preparations with the members of the American branch began in earnest about a year before the North American launch, and we started to started to hold more meetings together.
We started to mold whore meetings together. That's what you wanted to say, isn't it?
That is what I wanted to say.
No,
we also had assistance from Sony Online Entertainment, the company behind EverQuest at the time, whose staff helped us form a 24-hour GM team, just like the one we had in Japan.
Why like that? Why can't you say SOE, which would be
funny.
Much more understandable?
Were there any differences in mythologies when working with the staff from SOE?
Methodologies.
Also, methodologies.
Not mythologies.
Like ancient wizards coming together. Methodologies when working with the staffs from SOE. I couldn't stop seeing mythologies after that. Foxclon says, we had them follow our policies and such, but our ideals and theirs had a common origin in Ultima Online, so they understood quickly, and our conversations went very smoothly. Furthermore, all of them were experienced veterans, as their team had been involved in EverQuest operations for years. I was really looking forward to working with them, so I was thrilled when visiting the SOE office. I had this wild assumption it would be like a secret base.
Why?
yeah, what is this, like, command center, like HQ?
I mean, you work in a video game company. Why would a European one be any more like a spy base?
Because we're ancient. We have like castles. It's like an ancient castle.
I see.
Yeah. You mean the intelligence agencies they have in movies, says the interviewer, and laughs. Foxclon says that the actual office was really cool with the typical... Oh, sorry, this is in America. With the typical roominess of an American office and pale lighting.
Yeah.
Of the glow of fluorescent tubes.
It feels good on my skin.
It's big, empty, and fluorescent. That is exactly how I want it.
The back rooms, that's what it is.
Yes! Back then, SOE's Network Operations Center, NOC, was this dimly lit room with many monitors, and it looked like the command center of a spaceship. Whenever there was a server failure, a mechanical voice would announce, "Server name is down." I was really jealous of that and wanted something similar for our company, but as you might expect, we couldn't imitate the spaceship look. Then he laughs. That sounds...
Okay. That sounds terrifying.
It sounds terrifying and cool at the same time in a weird way, but yeah, I wouldn't want to.
Could you imagine hearing, like, in speaking at Square Enix, hearing "Crystal down"?
Yeah, horrible.
I think it sounds cool as a place to visit. I don't think it's somewhere I would want to work.
No, same. That really sounds like something from a movie. By the way, I've been told that Square Enix has an alarm that goes off when a server issue occurs. Foxclon says, "We do. Since we couldn't watch the monitoring tool 24/7 and needed something to draw everyone's attention in the event of an issue, the first thing we did was make a siren. We also thought it'd be cool if we had flashing lights to go with it, so we tried to install a rotating beacon. One of our engineers..." Yeah. It's a bit much, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of our engineers managed to create a mechanism to set off the siren, but I couldn't think of a convincing argument to have the company purchase a rotating beacon. So I went to buy one myself, quietly brought it in, and asked one of our engineers, "Hey, could you make this light up in sync with the siren?" And that's how our first beacon came to be.
No. Why? What the fuck?
I mean, this is for his own entertainment, Robert.
Yeah.
You know what? You got to make the workplace fun. You know, you got to mold your environment to your liking.
Yeah.
Why not?
Also, he says our first beacon. That's kind of worrying. How many do you have? You paid for the first beacon yourself? Asks the interviewer. Foxclon says yes. So it was mine. We now formally maintain a beacon after more people understood its necessity, but the flashing lights haven't been as useful for grabbing everyone's attention these days. The audio cue, on the other hand, remains as important as ever. Since more of our staff members have been working from home since 2020, all of us were given a live feed of the monitoring equipment, and sound has been essential for noticing issues in the current situation.
Oh, that's awful. So, the idea of just like some horrible
like webcam feed.
Disorienting noise that just like comes through your headphones at random.
Yeah. With the recent rise in online services, however, we're running out of distinctive sounds. Our staff still rely on the audio cue to identify the service experiencing the problem. There's a specific sound for 11, another one for 14, and so on. So my current concern is how it's gotten progressively harder to tell the sounds apart intuitively. Interesting. So, could they not just have like a notification on like? Do you not have phones? Like, can you not get like some sort of? Why do you need it to be a physical siren in your office that you need a webcam feed for?
It's got to be like the most annoying thing ever.
Yeah, apparently.
I think it needs to be something that they immediately notice, because I think even something on your phone is you can ignore. Like,
that's true.
Temporarily.
That is true. Okay. By the way, I've been told that the emergency alarm for Dragon Quest X Online was the sound that plays when you put on cursed equipment, which is a reference.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. Foxclon says it was for a long time, but it was very unpopular and discontinued soon after. Apparently, the sound made everyone feel depressed. It's a different sound now. Okay.
That's sad. No.
Yeah.
They should make the siren for the 14 one the sound of like materia breaking.
Gosh.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's like
That
the failed crafting sound too.
Yes.
Like as an armor, we're like ting ting ting.
Yeah. Yeah. For 11, they should have the level down sound when you level down.
Oh no.
Okay. What I learned from my time in Europe and our first fan festival. You also worked in Europe for 2 years as European online producer. How did that come about, and what kind of work did you do? Oh, he was the European online producer. Interesting.
He had to learn English at some point. That's why he's
as
well spoken as he is now.
True. Foxclon says, in North America, our joint venture with Electronic Arts, which we've talked about last week, very cursed, was dissolved in 2003, thank God, when we established an in-house publishing environment, which enabled us to launch Final Fantasy XI there. Our European branch, however, didn't have such publishing capabilities. As such, Square games were sold in Europe by first parties, other distribution partners, or through our North American branch. In other words, the European branch couldn't handle online game operations on their own yet. Foxclon says, that's right. That makes sense. Square Enix is, even to this day, I feel like Europe is still a strange market for Square Enix. Like, they don't really want to invest in this, but they are.
I feel like they don't make Europe easy to work in.
No.
For some things.
Yeah. Foxclon says, that's right. Around 2004, however, our company finally decided to establish a publishing environment in the European branch as well. And I was assigned there to assist with the groundwork. My role in Europe was no different from what I've been doing in Japan since joining Square in December 2001. We were completely lacking customer support and other necessary functions for providing online services, so we assembled a whole service team. Our team was ready to go when Chains of Promathia and the Xbox 360 version of 11 were being launched. So 11 became the first title we published in-house in Europe. Do you remember that? I remember the weird, like, they advertised it just like in stores. That's all I remember. I don't think I've ever seen a TV ad for 11, but it was like always plastered on like GameStop. Like the entire window would just be like white because Final Fantasy games were just, the white cover with the text in Europe. And they would just have the white cover, and then they would have the logo, and then they would have this huge box because they sold it with like bundled with the PS2. Was the coolest shit in the world when I saw that. Like, oh, hell yeah, the future is now.
Ever since then, the feel hasn't been the same. This has been all downhill.
Okay. How long were you in Europe? Asks the interviewer. Foxclon says, I was there from 2004 to 2006. So in terms of 11, that'd roughly be from Chains of Promathia until Treasures of Aturgan.
Why are 11 expansions so uninviting in terms of their names?
Well,
the deep lore.
It's lore.
Come on.
That's interesting because it's like the main difference between 11 and 14 is definitely that it just expands on the current realm. Like it's Vana'diel. So it's like it's just that's why they have to have these horrible titles, because that's just things in the world. They could have made it better.
Yes, I'm glad they've gone in the direction of just like vague descriptors for the events of the story that we've gone with 14.
Yeah, I agree. Did you notice any difference in the player base in Europe or in the way they interacted with you as a GM? Foxclon says, I'm afraid my answer isn't very interesting for an interview. But in fact, there wasn't much of a difference. And then he laughs wryly. I believe that was because European players also saw 11 as their game. From a Japanese perspective, we might see 11 as a Japanese MMORPG that's being played by a global audience, but our overseas players didn't seem to hold that view as much, and many seemed to feel 11 was made for them in their respective languages. Of course, 11 is part of the Final Fantasy series, and I'm sure everyone knows it's a game from Japan, but its Japanese origins didn't really hold it back in terms of context. Strange answer. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can kind of see that. I think it was 11 still came out in that early, like enough time where people were still like, oh, this cartoon came on. It's anime. Well, I mean, that's just like a cartoon.
Yeah,
It just looks a little different.
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh,
true.
Is a Japanese game? Well, I mean, it's in English, so it's just a video game.
But it would be interesting if he like, or maybe he's being genuine here, but I have a feeling Japanese players and European players played the games a little differently. But maybe
is there any different way to play 11 though? I would think there's only kind of. I mean, not one thing to do, but
you're right. 11 isn't
real play style, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's true. There's 14 is more. You'd see it more, but in 11 not so much. Perhaps the concept of living out your adventures in Vana'diel was one that transcended cultural barriers.
I sure hope so.
Foxclon says, one struggle we had was how all of our announcements in Japanese required a buffer when being relayed to overseas audiences. Likewise, feedback from our overseas audiences couldn't be directly conveyed to our Japanese developers. That was something I found frustrating. How did you address the situation? Foxclon says, we had our operations team in Japan serve as our hub for communications, and we were really thorough about publishing notices in all languages together. As a general rule, aside from exceptional circumstances, all outgoing information was to be uniformly available in each of our 4 supported languages: Japanese, English, French, and German. The actual publishing process was all handled in Japan, so that part wasn't much of an issue. That said, dealing with the transactions for subscription fees proved to be a bigger problem in Europe than publishing announcements. There were numerous issues where we were unaware. What am I doing? There were numerous issues we were unaware of when working from Japan, such as the extremely low credit card retention rate in Germany, or the need to support certain debit cards and bank transfers.
Interesting.
Low?
I mean, I feel like that's significantly changed.
Yeah.
What is that? The low credit retention? What are they?
Credit card retention rate.
I think the idea is that not many people in Germany had credit cards at the time.
I guess.
Retention though? Like, but it feels like they didn't keep their
people
cards.
Just change cards all the time?
Do they
or
just
change banks or change...
stop their credit cards maybe? They didn't like keep them for very long?
Labelings, chime in.
Interesting. And I cannot imagine having a billing issue, a subscription issue in like 2004 Square Enix support system. That would have... I would just contact my bank and be like, close the card and just never play this game again. Just close my 11 account. It's over. The official event, Final Fantasy XI Fan Festival, was held on March 2006 in Santa Monica. Were you still working in Europe at the time? Interesting location.
Please bring back the fan festivals to California. I don't want to go to Vegas.
I'm not a California girl.
Foxclon says, it did overlap with my time in Europe. I flew from London to the US in order to attend the fan festival. I believe that was 11's first full-fledged and large-scale community event, but do you remember anything about it? Foxclon says, back then, when it came to this is the proto-fan festival, essentially, for what we would later get. Mm-hmm. Back then, when it came to fan festivals and other events, there were still many skeptics in our company who were like, what's the point? Those opinions obviously didn't come from the 11 team, but I remember having a hard time trying to get the cooperation of our colleagues who weren't as involved in 11's day-to-day operations. It must be hard to like sell that, especially back then. The stigma of like an online game, gamers, and now you're gonna have like I guess if you say convention, it would make more sense because that's what they would call gamers back then. That's what nerds attended back then. But yeah, I mean, maybe in Japan that wasn't so. I don't know anything about Japan's like gaming convention culture.
No, I don't know how TGS has been around for a while, but I don't know exactly when it started. When did BlizzCon start?
Ooh, that's a good question. BlizzCon
early 2000s, wasn't it?
Yeah, it must have been around this time, maybe. So I wonder who started it. Let's see. I'm gonna just quickly Google because that's content.
October 2005.
2005. Okay.
Peak
Okay,
year.
so just before. So this would have been like
So this is the year after.
peak of these things picking up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps the idea of fostering a community hadn't caught on yet, and the events were seen as more of a marketing scheme, says the interviewer. Foxclon says, it might have been the lack of games that emphasized a sense of community. Whenever we held the Square Enix
Interesting when we just won the best community award.
Yeah, true. Whenever we held the Square Enix party events in Japan, for example, the enormous crowds in the 11 section were spurred by a different motive from those in other sections. The same goes for our booths for 11 and 14 at Tokyo Game Show. MMORPGs attract tremendous enthusiasm from attendees and require an atypical approach to event operations compared to other titles, which was quite hard for us to accommodate.
Basically, we're very nasty and gross, and they need to bring all the deodorant.
Yes.
All the deodorant.
Yes.
They hand it out.
Yeah. I wonder, I guess it is, the enthusiasm is because you're playing it so much. You're very, very, you feel strongly about this game.
Yeah, I think
compared to
it's
other
because
titles.
the people that go to these kind of booths are more so people that are already involved in the game.
Yeah.
Whereas it's very difficult to make them inviting for people that have never played them.
Right, exactly, yeah. Even if we collectively refer to them as game events for standalone titles and MMORPGs still have many differences, don't they? Foxclon says, I'd say the differences are very apparent. First, some attendees will have already played the game, setting it apart from announcement events for a new title. We typically see a lot of hardcore fans at these events, and it'll be absurd to not cater to them. At Tokyo Game Show, from an event management perspective, it's more convenient to have our booth as close to the corner of the venue as possible, on the opposite end of the main lines of traffic. These and other factors we have to consider, like setting up our booth away from those of other companies, only show how passionate our attendees are. Oh, so they have to, if there's a WoW booth, they have to be careful that they're not sparking a war by having it too close.
I guess so.
Could you imagine the this happening now, modern day convention with a WoW head and a fucking 14 player
Yeah.
going at it?
I just really like the idea because he's specifically talking about 11 here. That is so funny because I imagine an 11 player now, someone who was prime age when 11 came out, they're in their 40s now, and they're just attacking.
They are, Rollo.
Yeah, they are.
No, you're right. It's just funny to think about. Millennials are just old people now.
Fucking attacking a 14-year-old WoW player. Fuck off! The game is superior. Have you ever camped for 60 hours? No.
Foxclon had been in the industry for almost 10 years by the time he started working on 11 Roller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Foxclon was a young man in his 30s like us.
Yes.
Well, not you, but Lakil and I.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of time in my 20s yet.
Yeah. Foxclon says, at events, I was impressed at how every single one of our attendee... where are we? With that in mind, sorry. How did you feel when you saw all those fans at that kind of event? Foxclon says, at events, I was impressed at how every single one of our attendees had their attention focused in the same direction. Of course, the same sort of thing happens at concerts and plays, but to see it happen at a game event was something else. As everyone eagerly watched the developers panel and roared excitedly as the Star Onions performed, I felt this tremendous energy throughout the venue. At the same time, it filled me with this determination to do my absolute best. Nowadays, my presence at these events is all but guaranteed, but back then, it was one astonishment after another for me.
Star Onions, Lakil.
The Star Onions are it's like the primals for 11.
Star Onions.
Yeah.
That's a cute name.
Do we know anyone that's in the Star Onions?
Right? I don't remember. I was too young to pay attention to their fan fests. I know that they're from. Yeah. I know that they are the band. They're an instrumental band from formed by Naoshi Mizuta, September 2004. Yeah, they're not the same genre. Let's just say they are more instrumental music, not yeah.
Not goblin rap rock. Is that what you're telling me?
But I do believe this is where Koji Fox started doing musical stuff. I don't think he sang.
He was a drummer.
Oh, he was a drummer? Oh, okay. Well, there you go. He was in the Star Onions.
Yeah, they only had 2 albums. That's a shame. Well, the Primals went on to the Star Onions started what the Primals were able to continue.
Yes. Yep, there we go. So Star Onions, look that up on. I'm sure there's clips of them on YouTube. They did also release 2 albums. They obviously only played 11 field tracks and stuff, but 11 has good music, so look it up. Okay, official 11 events were held in Japan as well. It's interesting that they started that in North America and not Japan.
That's true. I was surprised by that.
Yeah. Foxclon says, after being involved in VanaFest pretty much every other year, which is the name of their fan fests, every other year up to 2012, I feel as if event organizer was added to my list of responsibilities. We still regularly hold events for 14, but between then and now, I'm glad I was working behind the scenes in my VanaFest days. Yeah, he was not, in 14, he's, in front of the camera next to Yoshi P, but in VanaFest, he was not really there.
I mean, he's got second billing in FanFest.
Yes. After all, you've hosted and interpreted for 14 events, and recently you've even danced on stage for live music events. Foxclon says, it's quite a conundrum, and laughs.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting way of saying that.
Yeah.
Answering that question.
Okay, so now we're moving on to the STF. I'll explain what that is before we talk about it. The Special Task Force is what STF is. It's the team responsible for cracking down on the use of third-party tools and RMT, activities related to trading in-game currency or items for real money. The STF was originally referred to as the Special Task Team when they were originally established. The STF is also part of your responsibilities. When did these countermeasures against fraudulent activity begin in earnest? Foxclon says, we were aware of their necessity since the beginning of operations. The actual team was formed in 2006, and in their early days, they specialized in countermeasures against RMT. The problem with RMT is that, even if it's prohibited in 11, it's extremely difficult for us to control transactions taking place outside of the game. It's also a problem how their reckless guild farmers have a large impact on normal players who are just trying to enjoy the game.
Right, how dare they?
A tale as old as time. This has not changed. This is essentially the same problem they have today. Which is also what the interviewer is saying. And those are the problems with RMT that persist today. Foxclon says, when we recognized the need for a specialized team, there were suggestions to expand the GM team and have them take over the new role. However, GMs are an extension of customer support, which requires a completely different mindset from tracking down and eliminating bad actors. Having a single team handle both roles would call for drastically different stances depending on the job. With their duties split between eyeing people with suspicion and providing support, that discrepancy could manifest an inability to see players as customers to assist. Therefore, we gathered several members with GM experience and formed a separate team within the same division. So it's essentially like the secret police of the game.
They're the white blood cells of the GM team.
Yes, that's a reference. Wouldn't it be difficult to get rid of these so-called RMT vendors? Foxclon says, eradicating them completely would be nigh impossible, but our goal has been to keep them suppressed to a very low level of activity. To elaborate, one of the STF's primary tasks is continually analyzing logs to identify patterns in RMT transactions. Another crucial role is forming internal rules to remove those who engage in certain problematic behaviors. Even if a behavior isn't listed in our user agreement, that doesn't mean you can do it as you please. Actions deemed to be objectively problematic must be addressed pertinently, or we'd lose control in a situation if something were to go awry. Sounds like a miserable job, like to try to figure this out. God, this would drive me nuts to sit there and be like, oh, RMT, is this RMT? What is happening here? Sounds like
I imagine you'd have the very strong constitution for nonsense.
Yes. And also, like, the repercussions if you, like, trigger, like, an investigation and, like, action against a player and it turns out they didn't do anything wrong. I can imagine what that, like... No, I don't want to deal with that. Couldn't have that job. Sounds like there needs to be room for flexibility. Foxclon says, we discuss our definitions of bad actors at length with our legal department, and those determined justifiable are added to our list of internal rules, which has progressively grown over the years. Even today, we're actively arming ourselves with new knowledge in our continued efforts to eliminate RMT vendors. But we can never underestimate our enemies. They're always searching for new loopholes, which means we need to constantly develop new countermeasures. Yeah, that's how it is. It's just endless.
It's always the big rat race.
Yep. It goes to show that the history of 11 is also the saga of the STF's battles. Speaking of which, when the STF held their presentation at Vanafest, their tools had unique names like, oh my god, RMT Pounder V1337. And...
Did RMT Pounder?
Poner. Sorry,
Poner.
did I say Pounder? Poner.
Yeah, Pounder.
Pounder.
Come on. You're old. You should know. Come with some news. How dare you?
And
like this.
And yeah. And the Gilded Tomb. And there were interesting phrases like on the verge of resignation. Okay, interesting.
Oh my god.
Foxclon
if
says,
you want to find out exactly what these are, you can go to a page that explains.
Yeah,
there's got a link that explains how all these tools work and also their report in general on RMT.
Yeah. Oh god, 11's website is... It looks like the old Lodestone. It's very nostalgic.
But worse.
But worse, because it's just left-aligned, tiny column. Morochi says, they may have been unusual, but those were the kind of distinctive names we used internally, and I'd say they served us well in leaving an impression with the players about the STF's activities. Back in those days, it was easy to see how vendors went about their business. Examining the logs made it evident that there were sizable criminal mafias. One character held onto the gill, others farmed and
Italians.
Others farmed and deposited their earnings, while another distributed the gill to buyers, and so on. In that
Got the mules.
Yeah. In that sort of manner, their methods were quite obvious, and we were able to crack down on entire organizations at once with the RMT Pounder. Which is, I'm coining that now. We're coining Pounder, guys. V1337. Nowadays, however, vendors have become harder to locate as they've minimalized their in-game presence as much as possible. So it's up to us to continually adapt our methods and keep catching them. As you can see from our FFXIV announcements, it's an ongoing battle. We're still cracking down on thousands of accounts each week. There we go.
The person that reads the reports every week that 14 releases on the Lodestone for what they've done about RMT.
Sorry, what did you say? I completely didn't listen to a word you said for some reason.
You know how the Lodestone releases reports once a week about everything they've done to combat RMT?
Yeah.
I want to meet the person that reads them every week.
Oh my god.
I gotta know.
Yeah.
Did they get them?
Yeah. That's another one of those horrible jobs I couldn't have.
Well, that's part of the SMT.
Well, yeah, I guess
Not
the
SMT.
STF,
STF.
Special Task Force. Yeah. Okay, that's the Foxclon interview.
There should be one more part.
There
Probably
should be
next
one
week?
more part. Yeah, I think I think it said 4 parts. So we'll finish this next week, probably. Yeah, good interview. It's nice to hear about the old days.
This is always interesting. It's just so difficult to get interviews about the old days. So the fact that they're doing this whole series is very exciting.
Yes.
I'm sure that someday they'll get one with Koji Fox.
Yeah, I will also. We realized last week that the website where you can find these interviews has like a whole section about artwork from 11, and it's extensive and very fascinating to look at. Like, you'll recognize some that we have in 14 as well, but like, remember this is where most mobs from like A Realm Reborn that you know today were made. Like, they were lifted directly from 11, so you get to see how they could have looked like, because there are obviously alternative versions, because there's just artwork of like suggestions for monsters. It's really interesting.
It's like how we have the concept artwork for Aura.
Yes.
You get to see like how they conceptualize like Kikun and stuff like that.
So that's on the We Are Vanadil website. You can just Google it. It'll come up. We Are Vanadil. That's the website. If you're watching on demand, links in the description. Okay, let's get some MogMail out of the way, eh? It's time for MogMail. I should have had I was so close to getting a perfect segue there, I couldn't do it. Sorry, MogMail. Oh!
Where's this? There we go.
Don't know what's... I cut off the Moogle. I don't know what's happening to MogMail. MogMail is cursed. This is from... Where am I? Kamidani. It's me again, your favorite Final Fantasy IV story spoiler guy, back with 2 more theories. One theory is for 6.3, and the other is for future trials. So in the latest live letter, Yoshi P showed us a screenshot of Alphino and Alice as well as told us they are going to be rejoining the story in 6.3.
They're going to be rejoining each other. They're going to combine like 69 dungeon.
Yeah. This got me thinking of the twins from Final Fantasy IV, Palom and Porom, Billy and Gorby, as they're called in our playthrough. As you have played.
Wow, that's really because that's not even on the Speakers Plays channel yet. That's really
you enjoy that. How about you just fucking watch the playthrough then, viewer? As you have played, or listener, listen to our playthrough. Because if you're an audio listener, you can only listen to things. That's just how it works. As you have played past this part in 4 already, you know that Palom and Porom sacrifice themselves after the party defeats Cagnasso. I can never say it. Cagnazzo. I need to have it written phonetically. Which fiend are we likely to fight in 6.3? There it is again. Will A&A engage in some heroic sacrifice to save us? Will they get Ystolad, Minfiliade, and yeeted somewhere? I think there is some kind of connection between A&A rejoining the story just as we fight Turtle Boy.
Well, aren't you lucky that Kamidani said that rather than Cagnazzo?
Oh, that was good. My second theory is that is about the trials moving forward. Many people think that we are going to wrap up the 4 Fiends theory. What? Where did theory come from? 4 Fiends shortly and move on to as yet unknown enemies heading towards 7.0. I think we're getting through the 4 Fiends quickly because we are going to have some kind of elements battle against all 4 Fiends in a future trial. Sorry for the following spoiler in advance. I think
we just did this.
Yeah, I think this because the second battle against all 4 Fiends in the Giant of Babel is one of the more memorable boss battles near the end of Final Fantasy IV. Their appearing out of nowhere, powered up and stronger than before, is something Yoshi P and the dev team would certainly want to draw on. There are so many cool mechanics a fight against all 4 Fiends could have too. We could fight the fiends one after another, like in 4, or even fight them 2 at a time. 2 at a time would also be a great fight design, and let the off tank do something other than taunt once every 2 minutes to eat a debuff. I am excited to hear what you guys think. Thanks for the great episodes each week. Make sure to let me know what other classic RPGs you're planning playthroughs of. I'll make sure to send lots of MogMails rife with story spoilers for them too. Thank you, Kamadani.
Do Earthbound next.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is interesting. We have just finished that part of the story in 4. But the first part, there is a twin sacrifice in 4, but spoilers, and we've done this part, but they do return. So it's not a permanent. So they might do like a fake out, maybe, like where we think they're dead and then they come back. There's no way. If you're going to go, oh, spoilers, as if they're ever going to kill Alphino and Alice, are you mad? That's never going to happen.
Trust me. Blue Fever was right. He came back and told me in my
Jesus
dreams.
Christ.
He told me.
I do agree. I will say I do agree with chat that like the twins did already as did every member of the Scions sacrifice themselves very recently. It would feel a little bit like they're retreading old ground.
Well, yeah. I don't know if it's going to happen in like 6.3 though. I mean, well, it would have to, wouldn't it? Because it depends on where the story is going. But in 4, they make it like feel very final. I don't, maybe they can play that off and then they'll be gone for like a patch and we're like, oh my god, I'm still recovering, and then they come back next patch. They could do that. For which fiend are we likely to fight in 6.3?
Kanyatsu. I'm pretty sure it's Kanyatsu. I'd be surprised if
Kanyatsu is the
water one.
That's I want to see his design. I want him to be as disgusting and weird as he is in 4, but he's not going to. He's going to be like a sexy man. What? Do you not think so?
I mean,
he's not going to be this horrible little water beetle creature.
Why do you think that?
Because I don't know. It's 14. They've already done a horrible thing, and he wasn't even allowed to be a proper trial. They made him a dungeon boss.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm thinking that Kanyatsu will be a dungeon boss as well.
God, I really hope he's a horrible, disgusting, vomit-inducing creature, but I don't think he will. But we'll see. He's
going to be so
what?
sexy.
They're going to make a sexy beetle man.
Yeah.
I want Kanyatsu to remain as horrible and turtle-like as possible.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Rubicante we haven't really talked about, but what is he coming this patch as well? Is he? Everything is an innuendo, but is he? Will he be in 6.3? Rubicante, are we having connection issues? What's happening?
I'm thinking. Sorry.
It's just the lack of.
I think we are having connection issues.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm just met with like complete silence. There's like
well, yeah,
nothing.
because I can't.
Georg is just staring at me as if I'm like this horrible creature.
I'm giving you the.
Well, yeah, I keep having like lag. And,
see.
I don't want to say anything because I don't know if anyone else is speaking.
I see.
So we should move the area.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do that while we're on this. Yeah, you do that. Can you do that, Georgi? Oh, we're on automatic. Just anywhere. Ooh.
Wow. Ooh.
Okay. Hopefully this helps. All right. Anyways, I said
we don't.
Rubicante.
Yeah, I think one of them. I think Kanyatsu is the dungeon. I think Rubicante is the trial because I don't know what else the trial will be. We haven't set up a trial series at all.
True. That's true.
If it's not these.
Yeah. That's a good point. Okay.
I mean, it's possible that Kanyatso is the trial, and then Ruby Kante will be left for the next patch, and then the dungeon boss will just be something else.
Yeah, because we think the final boss is going to be Golbez, probably.
And possibly what's the sister called? Asdaya.
Oh yeah, right. Asdaya, forgot about. That's the whole. Yeah, right. Asdaya. We don't know much about her situation. Oh yeah, we left. I'm trying to remember the MSQ now. Right, I do remember the dragon.
We saw an echo flashback of like Golbez offering like an entrapped Asdaya to the four fiends.
Yeah. Okay. The second theory was about the Giant of Babel fighting all four of them, because that happens as well. Well, that would have to be like end of patch probably when they come back again. Because in 4 you defeat, like they said, you defeat all four and then they come back again and you fight them.
Yeah.
In one battle.
I mean, it could be it could end up being a trial, but like I think I'd rather it to be an ultimate. I think that would be able to suitably like represent.
That'd be so far down the line too.
Yeah.
A Four Fiends ultimate. Oh my.
Yeah. That is a good way, because they may not want to follow Force storyline,
Exactly. I mean, they've already changed the order in which we're fighting them.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, that's a great idea for an ultimate. And it would be like both like lore fitting for 4. Like it would be an actual good reference to 4. Yeah, I can see that. I'm so annoyed we don't know what the ultimate is for this patch. I want to know.
I mean, it's just wait, Lakil. It's only probably like 2 weeks away that we'll find out. They should tell us in the live letter.
Yes.
It's going to be the one that you want the least. It's going to be...
What do I want the least?
King MogMail.
Oh, just King MogMail.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could say it's one on the least because it's so far off my radar that I haven't even considered it.
Right. Yeah. Good. If it was good King Mogul, they need something else as well, like a good King Mogul and various Black Shroud things.
No, it's just good King Mogul, but he's just harder, and the song is like bass boosted and super loud.
Each phase is just more bass, just more and more.
I mean, I'll repeat what we've said already. I think that the most likely right now is the Warring Triad, with the possibility of it being the Four Lords plus whatever the evil thing was we were keeping, Koryu.
Oh yeah, Koryu. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Kamadani. Sorry about the weird responses in this MogMail got a little weird because of connection issues. But hey, maybe I'll edit that out in the YouTube video and you won't know what I'm talking about. Can I just say I'm so confused. I'm going to comment on a comment. This is a short comment that just says no sound on the latest episode. It has baffled me so much. What does it mean?
I saw that too, and I was like,
okay, so I think that's a joke in reference to the fact that, remember, there were sound issues when you were playing all of the new bumpers again in the last episode.
But that was like fixed in the YouTube version. So this is someone that's come from the Twitch VOD.
Yes, I would suspect that is the case, and then they're bringing it up.
Because that made me go through the whole. I was like going through the episode, like, oh my god, an audio track's missing, and it was like no sound question mark, and it had 2 upvotes, and I'm like, 2 people voted this.
I know, I saw that too.
Anyways,
I upvoted it too.
You fiend.
That was one of them. Was for me.
I was tempted to, because I normally try and upvote most of the comments that I think are contributing to a thing, and I was like, this means nothing.
Yeah,
and I know it's so I'm not contributing to it at all.
That's why it's contributing to the conversation.
Yeah.
It's contributing to confusing the kill, which is easier than you think, and I prefer if you people didn't do that.
Yeah, please. Okay, right. I think we can
do one more.
We can do one more. Yeah. Let's jump into another MogMail coming in now in 3, 2, 1. Here it is. This is from Camino from Adamantoys. hello, speakers. Been watching on and off for a couple of years now. It's all good so far. Thank God.
That's good.
Glad to hear that. So I've been meaning to ask you guys for a while. Can you honestly say that we'll be getting at least one new job in 7.0? I keep mulling it over, and with all of the jobs available now, with all of the balancing issues the devs have been facing lately, as of patch 6.28, I just don't see how a new job can fit into the roster in the game now. What are your thoughts? Could we really get a new job that can carve out its own niche? What do you think it could be? I look forward to hearing what you think. Best wishes, Camino. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good question. We haven't really talked about this, but we're kind of in a good place in terms of like job balance, like in terms of what we have in the game. Adding one new job will upset the balance, which, because right now we have 4. Well, how many tanks do we have? 4?
4. We have 4 tanks, 4 healers, 3 physical ranged, 3 magic DPS, and 5 melee.
Wait, well, we have 5 melee. Maybe we can get one more melee to make that an even number. Actually, now that I think about it.
I mean, the number of ranged physical is not even either. It's 3.
Oh shit, you're right. I thought we were more balanced than we are.
Neither is caster DPS. There's 3. There's technically 4 if you count Blue Mage, but there's 3 that are used in main content.
I definitely don't think we're ever getting any more tanks or healers. That one I think is locked now. We have enough.
I think we could, but for like that'd be like towards the end of the game, and that would require so much. Like that would be towards the end of their 10-year plan at this point.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it'd have to be something special, and it had to be like I think a tank healer added at the same time, because I'm guessing if they were to do that, they'd be really kind of shaking things up with the shield and regen healers and then the whatever tanks got going on.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking about. Melee and Ninja still doesn't have doesn't share gear with anyone, so I guess that's where we're most likely to get a new class job.
You're saying melee?
A melee dexterity DPS.
I mean, I agree. I just don't think they want to add a melee job 2 expansions in a row.
Well,
even though they'd use different gear,
But Yoshi P has stated that it's easier to sell like a melee, like a DPS at least, as someone that
I know.
Yeah, and
that is what people play. I mean, people do not like to play healers and tanks.
No,
from the statistics at least. So.
No, that's
the
true.
last 2 mascot jobs have been tanks.
But it's kind of like he's holding a sword, which is all people see. And then they get in the game like, that's a tank. No, thank you. And then they play ninja or whatever they want to play.
Well, that's why I think Red Mage is the one that's most likely. Of all the disciples of magic, I think Red Mage is one of the easiest ones they could sell in terms of like if they decided to make a mage an expansion mascot.
I agree. It's also like a very iconic, like just for people that don't know what a red mage is, they will see, sword, a magic, cool. But for like people that played Final Fantasy, they'll be like, that's a fucking red mage on that. They did use red mage a lot for Stormblood though, obviously, for promotional stuff, but what was the promo job? What was the like poster boy job for Stormblood?
Stormblood had 2. It was Monk and Samurai.
Right, they had 2. Because they had 2 storylines. Oh, great idea, guys. But what do you think the next job, this is too early to like really go into like discussion about, but say we're getting, I don't think we're getting more than
I think
I don't want to say it.
No, I think we're getting 1. I think we're getting
really.
No, actually, no. Let me say it this way. I think we're getting 2.
Oh,
I think we are getting 2, but I think 1 is a limited.
I was going to say, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because that way they can show 2 new jobs, but like they don't have to worry about balancing one around the main game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's more likely. I find it very hard to imagine them like trying to implement a second, like 2 jobs, because what they need is a job. They don't want to make gear for a new class, like another job.
No, it has to use gear that already exists in the game.
Yeah, and it makes sense right now to pad out the ninja gear because that's already existing gear that goes all the way up to level 90 that a new job can use, and then they will just make, the artifact gear or whatever, and then they literally, it saves them so much work. So if for them to do, here's one that uses ninja gear, but here's a brand new job that uses a whole new branch of gear. This is for the wrestler.
I mean, they can still add another job that would just use other gear again.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I've mentioned this before. I think the idea of like we could have I mentioned this before, a whip job that like it melees its primary like combo is melee. It's like the reverse red mage, but like its burst is at range.
Right.
And that could use the ninja gear.
That's yeah. I can see that.
And it will look terrible in all that gear because it will not make any sense.
No.
That's true.
Yeah, I can also
The
imagine
same way Bard doesn't Dancer does just.
Yeah.
I don't think you should be wearing that Bard gear. I mean, I get it, you're range, but it don't make no sense.
Yeah, true. There's also there was also the idea of the whip being, because I always make fun of like samurai's weapons always looking kind of the same. A whip, that's gonna look. Well, it's just a rope. It's just a long rope.
Well, no, because
tapered rope.
There are like chain. It could be like a chain whip.
Yeah. You can. But you can. The hilt is, or I guess there's the handle or whatever. The grip.
Yeah.
You can really work on that, and I guess maybe like the way you hold it, because I mean, obviously, it's going to be like Dancer if they did something like it, or like when you use Dancer skills or weapon skills, it just kind of like vanishes into like VFX stuff,
Yeah.
But when you're holding it, at least, or some skills, like it'll be stretched out so you can see like a lot more of it, and they probably will make it like at least a little bit bigger. It won't be like a little thin wispy,
right?
Kind of
That's what I'm picturing.
I mean, it's also possible, as chat's saying, they could be like extended flails. They're just chains, and at the very end there's like some sort of spiked ball.
Yeah, like a morning star type with like the Yeah, I can see that.
Like they use in Castlevania.
Yeah. I can see it. Because I don't really know what else there is to implement at this point. I mean, there's always, I don't think they're going to announce. I don't think we're going to get a new mage. But Geomancer, of course, is something a lot of people really want in this game. And it is lore. I mean, it's in the lore. It does exist.
It is
Far
in the lore.
Job.
The issue is that like they've established like how it works. They'd have to change that, which is possible. It's just like
they could also say like we're starting a new form of geomancy. Like this is a new type.
That's also true.
But
offensive geomancy. I hit you with the rocks,
right?
But not like what white mage. It's different.
Because I essentially did that with Gunbreakers.
Yes.
Another possibility is like. I'm gonna trigger the kill. Corsair. So like it is a combined like it uses a sword and a gun. So like it would function similarly and also use the ninja gear. And it would also start in Limsa.
And then,
but like it wouldn't be our type of. It wouldn't be similar to Millweed, like just like someone that came from across the seas. That could be how we get to Mericidia.
If they
could be
bring
like a Mericidian job.
If they bring Corsair into this game, they better fucking include the dice, because I want to throw dice to get because we know how we love RNG buffs in this game. That's what I want, and I also want them to have the option of failing. I think that's just
you.
Yeah. Yergi?
Maybe not even like Corsair. Make it like archaeologist and have it a gun and a whip like Indiana Jones.
Sure, why not? Why not?
You know what? It's from Maricidia. Call it a gunslinger, and you got your little holster, and you get the.
I mean,
Yeah.
we could just use the lore name Musketeer. I mean, that's still staring us in the face. They are a dual wielding class, and you can retool them.
I don't want to. Well, yeah, that's true.
Because we don't really see any musketeers other than Merlwyb nowadays, and we can just say like we want to revive the Musketeers Guild, and then they've changed
the
some
lost
stuff.
art of using 3 guns.
I mean, it is a lost art because no one's really doing it in Eorzea anymore. There's used
2 other musketeers I can think of. There's like the villain, not the villain, like the antagonist of the Ninja Quest, who is a yellow jacket, little Lullafell.
Yeah,
and then that guy that stands in like the Warriors Guild. What's his name? Like he's the captain of the.
Oh yeah. Oh god, he's
Yellow Jackets or something.
Yeah, I don't
Isn't the
remember.
guy from the Machinist quest line your trainer? Isn't he a musket? Or
From which?
well?
No, he's a marauder actually.
Oh, is he? Okay,
Oh.
never mind.
Yeah, I think. I mean, yeah, Musketeer is the perfect job for like introducing us to like New World, because it is so heavily tied to like Limsa's history and all that shit. So they could definitely make that happen. But I don't think we're going to the New World this expansion, so I don't think it would be a job for this expansion.
No. Do you ever think about the fact that like they're called the 3 Musketeers, but they're known for using swords?
Oh, why did you say that? That's so annoying.
I thought musketeer was like a profession, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like
It's not. I don't. That's a good point. I have never actually thought about it. It's a type of soldier equipped with a musket. Musketeers were an important part of early modern warfare. They don't even use muskets.
Well, if you watched that TV show, that French-Canadian animated TV show from like the 90s called The Fifth Musketeer, they did use muskets, but that's not the typical presentation of how they work.
That's not what I think of when I think about them doing the swords and doing all for one, one for all with their swords. Annoying. This is going to annoy me now. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, back to this.
What I'm here for, baby.
Yeah. Okay. Why are they called 3 Musketeers when they were? Shut up, Huvak. All right.
The 4th one was like secret.
Yeah, that was a
They
secret
weren't,
musketeer. That was the 4th. That's a whole miss. We're not going. We're not going here. Okay. Job. So what are we saying? What do we like? It's too early to like lock down a guess, obviously. But what are we loosely thinking for new job? Just go over it again.
I'm on the something to do with a whip.
Okay. Rollo, do you have?
I agree with that. It'll be ninja or ninja base gear.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just gonna go with something original though. I think they've kind of exhausted the list of like the fan like demands that are plausible or that they actually feel like doing.
Yeah.
And if it's just gonna be one job, which I still don't think they're at the one job point just yet.
Okay.
It'll be an original concept.
That's why I'm saying whip, because Final Fantasy, other than Beastmaster, is like not really had whip-based jobs.
Well, see, that's why I have a little bit of a problem with the whip job, because I think Beastmaster is coming to the game, and they also use a whip. So
well, traditionally, but the Beastmaster's from like what's his name, Lion. He doesn't use a whip.
True.
That's cool.
That's true. I mean, but what would the weapon of the Beastmaster be?
What does Lion use?
That's a good question.
His little one-handed sword, or that's the animation he uses.
Well, remember, we don't actually have his job in the game.
They use a one-handed axe and shield. So it's like Paladin, kind of.
Yeah, which I don't think really makes any sense for a Beastmaster to have.
It doesn't make that much. It doesn't make that much sense. But the weapon's not that important for Beastmaster. At least if it's going to be a limited job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you can just be like, I don't know. We learn it, but then they're like, that was the fake Beastmastery. Real Beastmasters use the whip.
Yeah, Beastmasters
That's also true.
In Tactics Advance use bells. That's kind of what Geomancer uses in 11. So interesting.
That's kind of what Geomancers use in this game as well.
Yeah,
they use a combination of bells and wands.
Yeah.
If Geomancer was the job, they can bring back wands.
Yes, yeah.
Biggest demand right now in the
Ye-
14 community.
Wingardium
those
Leviosa, baby. It's yeah. No, I want the whip job. That sounds like a request for something. I don't want.
I'd like a whip job too.
I want a job that utilizes a whip. I'm a little worried about the Beastmaster thing though. I kind of want Beastmaster to use a whip as well because that makes more sense to me. But I also think we're going to get a limited job next expansion. And they might try because they were sneaky with Male Vieira to like when they did the FanFest last year. They were like, oh, and here like they almost presented it as a new race when it actually wasn't. It was just a new gender for an existing race. And I think that's what they're going to pull. That's going to be the gimmick next year. Is that they're going to be like, oh,
So-
we have one job, but wait, there is more.
I'll ask you, if they are going to go with limited job and like a regular job, will they put the limited job in the CGI trailer? Because I think if people see that, that would make some people upset. To
Yeah.
be like, oh
No,
wow,
I don't think
look,
they will.
No.
he's fighting the enemies. Oh my god, he's with Alize and Alphano, whatever. And then it's like, oh, the new limited job, the Beastmaster. Oh.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to do that. Yeah. No, that's going to be like a surprise because they're going to be like, oh, we're only going to get one job. Guys, we have one more job. And everyone goes, whoa! Beastmaster. And then everyone goes, oh. Limited
And they don't have
job.
to show the new jobs in the at CGI trailers anyway. They didn't show. I don't think they showed any of them in Heavensward, and they didn't show Red Mage and Stormblood.
True. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll see. There you go, Kamino. We will have to wait and see. We don't really. It's hard to predict like what the job will be, but I do agree that I think it's going to be one that shares stats with Ninja, just for to make it easier for them to make gear. All right, thank you everyone for sending in MogMail. You can send in more to speakersxiv.com/MogMail. We'll be reading them next week, so make sure you do that. Thank you. Now, oh right, this is an intro, doesn't it? Let's do it.
Yes.
The great discussion, it's here. Speaking of future expansion, with every expansion comes a plethora of new zones. Plethora is perhaps a bit much for. We're getting
Precisely
a handful.
6.
Yeah, we're getting 6-ish zones. So let's talk about what we want. What makes a good zone? What makes a bad zone? Essentially, what do we not want? And maybe we should also talk about like what at the end of this, like talk about where we want zones to be in the expansion as well, the upcoming expansion. But let's break down a zone then. So we like when you an MMO zone, like when we're talking zone, we're talking about overworld zones. So we're not talking about like cities or hubs; they are different things. No. We're talking about like Eastern Thanalan or the Western Highlands of Kurthus. We'll start with like the aesthetics, I guess, the visual fidelity of a zone. What do we like? What do we want from a zone visually?
I much prefer when a zone is bright rather than monotone or dark.
Yeah, which I feel was a problem with Heavensward specifically, where it was a lot of... There was something wrong, like something...
A lot of brune.
Yes, a lot of brune. Very, very drab. And when it didn't have the brown filter, it was snow. Like it was just white. It was just... everything was white. So... what is an example of a good zone in 14 that we can use as a base?
A good. I think Ilmeg
Ooh,
is
I was thinking of Ilmeg as well, to be honest.
it's I think it's really good
Mhm.
in that has really varied terrain
Mhm.
and varied vistas as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
Has really good use of color,
Mhm.
and it has lots of nooks and crannies. I think that's my favorite part about zones.
Yes.
Is just
Yeah.
little oddities here and there,
Mhm.
little like I wouldn't even say visual storytelling because they don't really tell you too much,
No.
but like you can go in some of those little underwater buildings and for Vobert or
Yeah.
Vo, whatever you pronounce it,
Yeah.
in the water. So that's I think that's one of, I'm not saying it's my favorite zone. I think it's an example of a really good
Yeah.
zone though.
I agree. Also, the way it is presented at the beginning of the game is like it doesn't show you the zone properly. When that's a thing for all of the game, but in Ilmeg specifically, there's that like fog that they put over you, and you have to do that annoying puzzle thing, and then they reveal the zone. And then it's a great way of like appreciating it more because you get to see like, wow, this is really a nice place.
Ilmeg also has something that I really like, which is elevation difference. I like it when a zone isn't just flat.
Yeah.
I understand, like the Azim step is good because it's like kind of different, but it's also, it does also have like depth to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
More than you would think.
Yes. Yeah, Azim Step is also a good example of like, because that's like, Mela hates the Azim Steps.
And I still don't get it. I do not get any criticism he has.
I know. I know he would say I don't hate it, but I know he does because I heard him talk about it in the initial days after the game, like Stormblood came out. It was too, and I was like, oh wow, it looks like an 11 zone. I said, meaning that as a compliment, and then he's like, oh yeah, you're right. So yeah, yeah, go on.
I think one of my problems with the Zoom step, and I don't think this is necessarily what Mailer's problem with it is that the eastern edge of the Zoom step is a very sheer, straight drop.
Yeah.
Which I think is just very unnatural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think the limitations of the what they can do shows a little bit there.
Yeah.
You can't exactly make an endless step landscape.
No. For the so let's take Ilmeg then. It's very vibrant, which is unfortunately very rare in this game because we have this mud filter, as I like to call it, over most things in this game. Like it feels like they've put some sort of filter over our screen that makes everything a little drab, like it's a little sad. It's just a little bit of a tint of sadness.
It's so strange. Like, I don't know if you notice it too. If you notice people who don't like take a lot of screenshots of this game, or like they're like, oh, I just want to show this thing. Every single time, it's dark as fuck. Like, and it's just like, oh my god, are you just playing in this darkness? Like, no, 14 just looks like that.
Yeah.
But then like, if you get someone that just like knows that this game is dark, and they adjust to their it accordingly, it's like, oh, okay. I can see what it is.
Yeah. And that's sort of like a thing I feel like Shadowbringers did more, because the whole like idea behind Shadowbringers was the dark versus light. So they put that into the design of the maps, I think, to like pull out more color in certain zones, because I think that's Ilmeg is perhaps one of the most colorful zones and vibrant zones that we have in the game right now. So yeah, we like a colorful zone. Any other like colorful zones that you can think of, like in the vein of Ilmeg? I can't think of any.
What's it called? Thavnir.
Oh yeah, Thavnir is a good example. Yeah, that's a more recent. Yeah. Thavnir, Endwalker, of course. And people are bringing up Lakeland. Lakeland is interesting because Lakeland is like white and purple.
It has a nice transition into the green of Ilmeg in the corner.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree that it's a little monotone in the sense that it's like it's a large amount of white and purple.
It's just dual tone. It's just two colors.
I do like that look though.
It is a very unique and cool look. Yeah.
And like you get like the kind of I guess essentially marble, but like the stone
Mhm.
bricks of all the castles and stuff and outpost.
Yeah.
It looks cool.
Yeah.
Lakeland's water section, which is something that's uniquely appealing to me,
Weed?
has particular. No, not weed. No, not the island thriller. I'm talking about
Weed.
underwater. Um,
Yeah. The
I'm
underwater.
talking about the source
Right.
is very barren.
Oh yeah,
I think
it
it's
is.
very unappealing.
Yeah. They kind of didn't bother with that much.
Which is contrasts really well with Ilmeg, which is really interesting to explore underwater.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there's Rollo mentioned it. Like, there's so much in Ilmeg that you can play through the entire game. You maybe up until this point, you might be watching right now, and there are parts of Ilmeg that you have never seen. Like, just like a few months ago, I was doing. I was doing the daily quest for the pixie quests
Pixies.
because I never finished that last bit. And I was flying up by one of the waterfalls, and I noticed that there was like a little opening, and you can go in there, and there's just a tiny little room there with like
Oh, the little crack. in
yeah,
the waterfall.
crack.
Yeah.
I'd never seen it before, and that was like, oh, okay, found something new. Like 4 years after this game came out, or how long is it? Oh
Yeah.
god, it's crazy. Yeah, so I like stuff like that. How does a Realm Reborn's zones hold up compared to what we have in the new expansion
I
zones?
think Realm Reborn zones hold up pretty well because I think they're really densely created. They're just a bit small for some of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think a Realm Reborn has, because of their size, a lot more in them. Like, I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
we talked about the Azim Steppe. Although I really love that location because it's visually appealing to me, I think there's a lot of nothing in that zone. In a Realm Reborn, the only thing I can think, the only place I can think of that has like any like dead space is like Segoli Desert, and that's because it's a desert.
Yeah.
So for the rest, it's like there's settlements, there's people, there's like a weird fucking rock, there's a massive fat tree. You know, there's always something visually interesting in the zones because they've really packed them to make them feel big. Because in reality, they're really small. What's your favorite A Realm Reborn zone aesthetically?
That's very difficult.
Yeah. I'm gonna go.
Well,
Yeah, go on, Georgi, go first.
No, you go for. Okay.
Yeah, you go first.
I like. I don't know if this is my favorite. I like Eastern Fenland. I like that. There's actually quite a range in the environments in Eastern Fenland between like the mining town in the northwest.
Yeah.
Then there's like the sort of like savanna in the middle, and then you can go all the way to the bottom, like southeast. That's the Burning Wall, which is amazing to explore.
Yes.
It's going briefly to like the most recent live letter. Being able to dive in the Burning Wall would be an exciting thing for them to add. I will say I don't think they will because I think Eastern Fenland has too much depth already. It's too difficult for them to add more depth to it.
That's true. Yeah. Rollo?
I think I'd pick Upper Lenosha. It's very, very tiny. It's a little itty baby map.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the novelty of having the big lake and all the the ruins in between it, and then the big skeleton of whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah.
I was like, it's just, I don't know, it's just cozy. And you have like little hamlet town just southeast of that, and the little nook building underneath the skeleton.
Yeah.
And the waterfall just past that too. It's like,
it is.
It's small, but it's dense.
Yeah.
Like a lot of maps.
Yeah. Upper Lenosha was honestly one of the other ones I was thinking of mentioning, and especially now that we're going to get the Bronze Lake will be diveable.
Yes.
Come 6.3,
which is presumably also means you can just normally swim through that gap between the two islands, which I will say I really love it now. Back when we couldn't fly,
Miserable.
hated it there.
Uh,
I hated that they'd done that. But now it's great.
I think the most miserable decision about it is that there's no etherite on the other side.
No, like what?
Take
Why?
the ferry like a normal human.
Yeah.
Come on.
He's definitely going out of business now that we've got flying, and now they're introducing like swimming as well. We don't need you, Cockaroon, or whatever your name is.
There's two brothers. There's one on each side of the lake.
Yeah. Your days
The other one,
are over.
the other one might be like Trusharoon or something, but they've all got similar names.
Yeah.
I think it kind of looking at like old Realm Reborn map design compared to like how we are like Shadowbringers and Stormblood, maybe not Heavensward as much, but Endwalker too. They've transitioned from having this kind of decentralized map design, if that makes sense, to more like here's the zone and then here's the pivotal thing in the zone,
Right.
like the eye-catching monument or object or tower or whatever.
Yeah.
Because like you look at I guess what's a good one? I mean, Ilmeg has like the castle, of course,
Yeah.
in the middle, with Vobort right there. That's that's the big eye catcher. Same thing with Thavnair. You have the rock you can see, as well as I guess the actual town of Thavnair too.
Yeah.
Or Radzidhan.
Yeah.
Do you guys? I don't know. Do you guys prefer either one? The big central thing, or maybe a central thing or two?
Yeah, because in a Realm Reborn zones, the big central thing is usually just the city that it's connected to, like the capital you can see in the distance. But I like having like a big it's good for, which this is our next point, but it's good for like navigation to know where you are, I guess, to like know where that thing is. But because the zone is massive, right, in like compared to a Realm Reborn, so having like the big thing, like Mordona is in a Realm Reborn thing that zone that actually had a big central thing, like one of the few zones that actually did. I don't know what I prefer though.
What was your favorite Realm Reborn zone?
I was gonna say Mordona, but I kind of, and this is very unlike me, but Kurth's Central Highlands has a special place in my heart. So
I understand that. There's I just get lots of warm, fuzzy nostalgia feelings from it.
There's
Something about the fate trains there, just like
I hate snow maps, but there is just something about the Central Highlands that just works. This zone, I mean, there's some magic in Kurth's that I think is. This is, remember, Kurth's Central Highlands is in a Realm Reborn map, but it's massive, and it
is very big,
and it's like it's still filled in the same way that all the Realm Reborn maps are. You never really feel like you're on like an uninspired padded part of the map. Like it all feels good. I mean, there's even some parts in the Central Highlands that you don't that story and quests never bring you to. Like there's like a little cave on the west side that you may never find unless I think maybe a leave quest. There's leave meets in Central Highlands, by the way. I like that. Like all around the Reborn zones have like Grand Company leave meets in some of them, which is crazy.
It just reminds. Very recently, I was doing Goldsmith leaves just because I was going for Goldsmith leave. Actually, I'm like doing the most unique Goldsmith. I was like, wow, I have to go all over the world for this.
Oh my
This is
god,
kind of annoying.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I'm gonna say Central Highlands. But yeah, let's. And also, you could say that in the Central Highlands. Yeah, there is no like central monument other than Ishgard.
Because there's
It had the what do they call it? The spike or something in the middle, but it's not very obvious.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
'cause
right.
I think the big thing with Realm Reborns too is that they have lots of like site blocking stuff.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
the
PS3.
PS3 limitations or whatever. So there's lots of, it's really broken up into sections, or you can't see everything from one part, which you gotta do what you gotta do. And they can make the maps look nice doing that too. But actually, I think it'd be interesting to talk about how maps don't fucking work. Now,
Yeah.
this might be an unpopular opinion, but I think Porthos Western Lowlands or whatever
Mm-hmm.
is one of the worst
Highlands.
maps. Highlands, sorry.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst maps in this game.
I
Why?
can agree to a certain extent. I think, well, because we're still on the aesthetic side, so let's just stay on that. That's because it looks sad. There is nothing.
That's the point. It is
It's
sad.
But it's kind of like, I know it's supposed to be sad, but there's like no. It's like the Azim Steppe without anything to look at. Do you know what I mean? Like when you enter that zone for the first time, I mean, Falcon's Nest looks cool. It's a cool base.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you leave, you're just like, oh shit, it's just white, flat, and empty. That's all that there is here.
Like, I know
See,
people hate the Sea of Clouds, right? But that's because I think it's hard to navigate.
Mhm.
So, like, as a
I
player,
don't even think it's hard to navigate. I just don't think it's nice to look at.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Well, I think it has a visual appeal to it at least.
Uh-huh.
But just once you're past like the town and the little bridge, and I guess there's a little farm.
There's a little
right up
farm
north
for
from there,
story purposes. Yes.
and the little frozen boat or something too.
Mhm.
Everything west of that is. There's the wall from the keep
There's
or
the
whatever.
frozen dragon.
There's
Yeah.
the frozen
There-
dragon, but visually it's very boring.
I think,
So-
yeah. Go on.
An argument I'd make with the Keston Western Highlands is it's kind of designed in reverse, because if you entered the zone from the Dravanian foreland side of it, you would actually be at the lower end, and you would to go towards Falcon's Nest, to go towards the bridge. Those are like landmarks, but because of the fact you start there, you don't look back at them.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think I don't know how they went about designing it, but I feel like they designed the zone without thinking about the manner in which you would navigate through it.
I agree. If they had reversed it so that you weren't going from the top going down, because when you
Down.
when you go from the top going down, you don't really see. Because, like you said, I've come in from that side before, like from the opposite end of the zone. You can see like the mountain and all the because the camp there's a camp there with like a frozen aetheryte. I really like the lore stuff in that zone, but it's all kind of hidden when you first start exploring it, because it's like on a little shelf, like hidden. It's all very hidden. But once you start, and you don't unlock flight until way later. So you don't really get to fly around in the zone until, you unlock the flying. But once you get to fly around and look at all the details, it's really cool. But it doesn't help the zone. The zone itself is just white, gray, sad. I agree with that.
And the thing is, there is cool stuff around the map. Like it has the nooks and crannies that I like. Not as much. Most of them are just, here's a dragon that's been killed by dragon killers.
Yeah.
that's what most of the secrets
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
There are some cooler dragons here and there, but I don't know. It seems just odd how it's like laid out and how the quest design takes you through it too.
Yeah.
You spend more time on the in that kind of that middle section almost, the central part,
Yeah.
the northwestern part, I guess, almost,
Yeah.
where there's not a lot going on. I mean, I guess it works for quest design because you can put whatever you want
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
But once you're done, like exploring like the farmhouse in that one quest or so, and dealing with the town,
Yeah.
you don't do too much anywhere else. Really, it feels like.
Yeah, that's true. I just want to mention real quick a zone that I don't like, and that's the Ruby Sea. I think aesthetically it is ugly. And there are other issues with it as well. But I just think aesthetically it is an incredibly ugly place, because it's just water. Then there's like a volcano. And then there's like another island with like the turtle people on it. And I guess there's then there's the southern part with the Confederation people.
And then don't forget the Jenga tower right up there.
Oh, and then of course heaven on high. But and you can like see underwater, like the shit underwater. But it's like, oh, it's so ugly. And I just hate that zone so much, and the fact that that's like one of the first maps you ever get to see in Stormblood, not a good sell. It's not a good sell. Yeah, and it's just a gimmick zone, but it's one of the worst gimmick zones. And also honorable mention to Sea of Clouds, which I can actually appreciate sometimes, but for the most part, I don't.
I think Shining Mist is worse than the Sea of Clouds.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry, we're talking visually, of course. Yeah, visually, I agree with you. That's just brown bricks, the zone. It's just brown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's quickly move on. And so that's the aesthetic side of things. Navigation. So when we talk about navigation, I think we need to talk about like when you cannot fly. So
Yeah.
walking.
That's how you mainly experience the
Yes,
zone, honestly.
yes. So what is the optimal... I don't even phrase this. What is the optimal setup on a map for like navigation? Like, what is the perfect map? Like, do you want it to be? How do we even phrase this? Just navigation. You know what I mean?
I don't mind the idea of like corridors and like valleys, or like it doesn't have to be all open, like Ilmeg or Lakeland or something like that. But like when you have when you have like the equivalent of cliffs in Pokemon that you can jump down but you can't go back up, that's very annoying.
Yes, yes. I'm trying to think of a bad map in terms of navigation.
So when you say navigation, you mean like as you're questing through it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
How easy is it to get around? Is it a pain to do like side quests there before you get flight?
Yeah, again, Sea of Clouds, of course, makes sense. But that is a zone primarily designed for flight. So obviously, it's
you don't get flight there until level 57.
No, so you can only use like that first little area.
Yeah.
And boy, you don't even know that till you're like,
No.
till you try hugging the wall everywhere. There's just a wall.
Raktika is awful for navigation in the eastern half. I think the western half is fine. The western half is relatively open. I think the eastern half of Raktika is really like a pain to navigate, especially because even once you have flight, because a lot of the like not cliffs, but like trees go all the way to the ceiling of the zone, so you can't even fly through them. You have to still go around.
Yeah.
It's always just more worth it to teleport and to get to the other side. It might seem like it's worth it to go around. It's not.
No.
Just give up.
Yeah. A good
the
zone.
Four Lands is in.
Oh yeah, sorry.
More? One more. The Four Lands is an interesting zone, and it's super linear, and it's really a pain to navigate. But like, there's a tiny part of me that's like nostalgic for like going up and around like Somal, like the cliff sides of Somal, was I think a really cool thing they included.
Yeah.
Even if it's like a really difficult to get around.
Yeah. That's the way up that mountain to no. Oh, I hated that, but yeah. Go on, Rolla.
This is a small kind of note. I guess that ties into map design. I think more quest design. A thing I don't really like that they do with these maps is like the quest hubs, where it's like you've gotten to the new zone, the main quest take you here, you've done this quest, every quest unlocks in this area, or in this like little town that you're in, and you can pick them all up there and do that while you're doing your main quest. It's really kind of like overwhelming, I think.
Yeah.
And makes navigating the zone a bit more annoying, because like ideally, and it's supposed to feel like this, but it never does, is when you get to the new zone, right? You can pick up all the side quests that you need to, do them all at the same time as doing the main quest, and then turn them all back in together without having to really deviate from the path too much, because they're all generally grouped together most times.
Yeah.
But in practice, it doesn't really feel like that, because at times it can feel like the quest is going ahead of where the side quests are taking you, and you're like, oh shit, well, now I gotta go back and like finish the side quest, or the side quest trying to take you somewhere else. And it's like maybe I should save it until I get the main quest taking me there, and it doesn't feel like that. So what I'm maybe one day or I'm hoping is to kind of leave crumbs of side quests leading up to these areas more often
Mhm.
could really help with the quest design and letting you explore areas too. Like if you could imagine, this is hypothetical, the is it Geranian hinterlands? That's the one with the volcano, right? Or is
Forelands.
Forelands, yeah. Okay, so you know the eastern route that takes you to, is it Featherfoot or something? I think something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever the town is.
Yeah. something like that.
So you just
Tail feather.
Tail feather. That's it. So you just take that road and then you go straight into the town, right?
Mhm.
And then there's the quest hub. I feel like if you were to maybe post some quest along that route to Tailfeather,
Yeah.
while you're like the main quest is like saying like, oh, stop here at this, I don't know, sign before the town. There's maybe some dudes here that have quests that take you to like that little cave in the south.
Yeah.
Instead of just going to the town, doing it all at once, and running everywhere all together.
Yeah.
But that small thing.
Well, I see what you mean, because I really hate that, because that is definitely, they've ramped that up, with the quest hub thing in Endwalker, and they'd started doing that, I think, well, they've done that progressively, but I noticed it for the first time properly in like Shadowbringers. It's like you do one quest, you finish an MSQ quest in like a village, and then all of a sudden your entire minimap just lights up with all the side quests that you've just unlocked, and I just feel my heart sink. I'm going, oh my god,
it's very overwhelming.
Yeah,
because
like, oh, sorry, go on.
Go on, Roland.
I was just gonna say, side quests don't appear until you hit certain MSQ like checkpoints.
Yeah.
Whereas in A Realm Reborn, it often feels like the side quests would already be there. You didn't have to necessarily progress the MSQ to go there and do them if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just get a lot of choice paralysis, I feel like, when it's all just grouped up and it pops up all at the same time.
Yeah.
If they want to gate it behind the quest progression, I think, or May's quest progression, I think that's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
I just think having it all together at the same time is really daunting.
It makes it feel like a chore that you have to do, and you're like, do I pause the MSQ and do all of these now, or like, what am I supposed to do here?
Meanwhile, though, if you like drip feed the side quests, where like maybe you take one or two along the way, you get to pay attention more to what's happening and whatever that side quest did. What if it's interesting or not? Whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of doing everything all at once and having to kind of keep track of like, which quest was this one again? Why am I doing this one again?
Yeah.
I just have to go out all together at the same time and sometimes kill the same mobs or go around the same area. And then you turn it and you're like, which one were you?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Small thing again, but I think it would really help build up on the map design, especially if they build those little nooks and crannies to like hide in or put little quest objectives in.
Yeah.
That could really elevate some areas. I think something like the locks could have really benefited from that, I think.
Oh, yes. God. Girabania in general, pretty horrible to navigate. It is... it has... Oh, God, yeah. It has, like... Remember... just getting flashbacks. Remember it had like the bridge that separated low level from high level. That was why all the the Raubon Gate happened during Stormblood.
Every single one of them is separated.
Yeah, and every single map is made that way. Whereas like there's a high level and a low level. I don't think all of them did, but some of them. And it's really,
but the first two do.
Yeah,
because you're not supposed to go to the second half of them.
Yeah,
I think the locks is really well designed, even if it is a bit ugly.
Yeah.
Just because like you can pretty much go wherever you want, and the side quests take you wherever you want, and the MSQ isn't that distracting there, in my opinion.
That's true, and it has a lot of they all kind of look the same to me, but the locks is the one that has all of those little areas you can go into, like fly into and walk into. It has the crypts and shit, right? That's the yeah.
The crystal caves too, and the I think there's a couple of pockets in like the salt lakes that aren't just the dungeon.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot to explore in the salt lakes if you go through them carefully.
Yeah. Can we think of a map that's good in terms of navigation? I will say that most of Realm Reborn maps benefit from being so small. That makes navigation much easier. And usually you can follow the main road in all of those and just get very quickly to where you need to be. Only thing I can think of is like some of the Shroud maps being bad, but
I think-
some of that land's a little annoying to navigate just because of the high level section in the middle of it.
oh yeah, true.
I think Horthus Western Highlands or is Eastern Central. That's what it
Central,
is.
yeah.
Central, because you have the huge mountain you have to run around every time.
Yeah, it's
I
annoying.
mean, before flying, of course, but
Yeah,
if you're doing something in the northwest corner of the map, it's not a straight line. You
right.
gotta go around the mountain.
Yeah.
It's not particularly a scenic route either, and there's a fate that will get in your way sometimes.
Yeah.
Multiple fates, I should say.
Yeah.
An example of a zone that's kind of split in two that I think is done a bit better than like Yerebarnia is Stavner, because like even though it's split in half essentially, it doesn't feel as like restrictive for some reason.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, true. I'm trying to think of like. If there's a zone that's stuck out as good to navigate, I don't think I can come up with. Mordona's pretty straightforward. Like,
It's a straight line essentially.
yeah, you just there are two sides when you spawn in. You go left or right, and then that's it. A little annoying that it's not the donut that it used to be. That would be more satisfying that you could just walk around it. But yeah, I think Mordona's pretty good. Well, except for the tangle. I don't like the tangle in Mordona.
Yeah.
Like stupid labyrinth stuff with marbles.
I hate the castrum there though.
Oh yeah, that's an eyesore.
I wish they
too.
could just nuke it from the map at this point.
Actually,
I don't care.
that whole part of Mordona, we can just close the gates. We don't need to
Yeah.
go that way anymore.
They just built a mountain there. It's like there is an earthquake, a mountain rose up.
Yeah,
it's
oops.
different now. Like,
Yeah.
oh, well.
Eorzea's Cataclysm.
Yeah, just very localized.
Yeah.
Okay, so story. I mean, we can't really go through so which, like the story of the map, like the story of the region. I'm assuming we're talking about here. So
I think the Tempest is a really good storytelling zone. I was going to talk about it as a bad zone for navigation. It's pretty linear, but it's kind of confusing with all the like elevation differences. Like the map, the mini map doesn't really help you in some parts of it.
right.
But the way that you slowly navigate your way down, and like they manage to hide this massive city,
Yeah.
and then you suddenly walk out of a cave and you see it. It's an amazing moment.
That moment is like, yeah, that's a crazy moment in the game, which you only get to experience once, unfortunately.
But it's dope. And
yes.
just don't see your friends flying. I hope you
Right.
don't look at where they're going.
Yeah. Yeah. But that is also an incredibly annoying zone to walk in. But.
I will say the Amarok part of the Tempest is I think the only instance in the game of them hiding location names on the map until you visit it.
Yes, I think so.
Because even in like Ultima Thule, you can see the names of the zones you're going to go to later.
Yes.
But they didn't do that in Amarok, and I kind of wish they did that in other zones.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, another zone.
I think so. I don't particularly like what's that place called? The Mount Gold dungeon place. Outside of
Kalusia.
Kalusia, yeah. I don't really like it. It's hard. I guess because the split is kind of annoying, in particular.
Yeah.
Something about the Aetherites just don't feel close enough either.
I agree.
No, I agree.
They're opposite corners of the map, but it feels like it's still annoying to go there.
Yeah.
But when the mountain Golg dude pops up, and he's still there. He's still just a big ass dude.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
That is cool. I agree.
Except don't look over in the corner where there's Nier. There's just Nier Automata.
God, Kalusia's so fucked. Like Kalusia is both one of my favorite maps of Shadowbringers, but it's also one of my least favorite at the same time. It's very strange. I love it because it's like clearly made as like an homage to like 1.0 Limsa, like Lenosha.
Yeah.
But then and that's why it's like kind of barren and weird looking. And then, but also it has the near shit in it, and
Mhm.
I don't
It's
know.
just there.
It's just there.
It's just near Automata.
Yeah.
It's so fucked
They-
up.
They messed around with Kalusia so much that they had to move the dwarves to Lakeland.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's an interesting zone.
I do love the race exclusive housing. That is the
Yes.
funniest
That's funny.
bit of map design I've seen
Yeah,
in the longest time.
yeah,
I'd love it to be the other way around.
Yeah.
Just make it for races that don't make any sense too. Like make
Yeah.
it for this is the Hrothgar only
Yeah,
housing district.
Yeah.
And there's just like a guard
Yeah.
that says you can't come in.
yeah. You're not Rothgar.
No.
Yeah,
It's
Maybe-
cool. It's
Yeah.
cool.
I think another zone that's good for story is Elpis. I think
yeah.
it's Elpis is an interesting zone because it manages to be really relatively open, but like it also gates you, but like it does it in a way that's not infuriating because the story is so intriguing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And like some people might argue about whether or not like it's too rushed or not, but like I feel like I personally found the pace to be quite enjoyable, especially since you're spending time with people that you want to learn more about through
True.
the whole zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true.
No, I agree with you there, Georg. I think there was definitely I didn't feel rushed getting through it. I felt like, oh yeah, I'm getting to explore these. Was it because there's like the 3 set towns or quest hubs, I guess.
Three
Yeah.
main islands.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're I don't know. There's lots of cool shit there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about one of the things that I find almost as important as all of the other points that we've talked about. Music, the zone music, which is a little bit unfair for Realm Reborn zones because they did not have the time back then to really make a full. This is the thing we saw with dungeons as well back in Realm Reborn. They just there wasn't enough time to make like a fully fleshed out theme for all the zones. But I mean, even though it's short, you can still like it. So zone music.
Zone music has to fit this balance where like it's fun and it's interesting. It can't be boring because you're going to be hearing it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it also can't be too distracting,
Right.
which is an issue that some people have with the final song that plays in Ultima Thule.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
With Ultima Thule, it's kind of. I mean, yeah, it's kind of. Ultima Thule is an example of that. It's like an example of using something that maybe. It's kind of like just playing a song. In the background, and
It's like getting on the bus and just someone's just blasting their
Yeah.
MP3 player
Yeah.
or phone with no headphones.
but the problem is it's just looping. It's just constant. So you will be hearing this a lot. So
Yeah.
Lahi as well, like Raktika kind of had that with the Lahi because you can clearly hear it when it's like restarting. So you know, okay, we're starting again. Here we go again.
It's very bold to
yeah.
put lyrics in the background music.
Yes.
14, I would say.
I agree.
Yes.
You have to do it with real thoughts, I think, and real like it's got to be for a reason, and it's got to be the right amount of lyrics, and it's got to sound right.
Yeah.
I think Lahi fits that balance just right for me personally.
I agree with Rollo actually.
Yeah.
I think Civilizations is a pretty okay song
I love
for
Lahi.
hearing over and over again.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I love
I
it.
also think that the thing that really saves Lahi, or let's just saying Lahi.
I just call. Yeah, we know what you mean.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah, it's the.
is
Yeah.
that there's the day and night theme for zones too. So it's not always the same one
Right.
when you go there. And
Yeah.
they're usually like it's not I don't think it's always a piano cover version, right?
In Endwalker it was because I believe all the night themes were composed by Keiko, but I think
Yeah.
that's not always the case in other expansions.
Yeah. I think Stormblood was all piano too. But
Yeah.
aside from that, I think that's really good to have the two the really somber nighttime melodies or like slower versions or like just
Mhm.
slightly different, and then you can have the daytime funness
Yeah.
going on there,
Mhm.
and that's a really good way to just break up the monotony of
Yeah.
the two zone songs you have now,
Yeah. I was
which
trying
Ultima Thule did not get.
right.
They just have the one.
The best.
I agree with chat that I think it should have gone back to the instrumental version after you finish the MSQ.
Yeah, I agree.
Good song. I like the song.
Mm-hmm.
I just think constantly it's not the best.
No. Yeah.
I also think turn up the brightness a little bit when you're all done with the
Ultima
zone.
Well, yeah, that's one
Thule
of the
is
other issues
too
about the
dark. Turn on the light,
Yeah,
please.
see, it's annoying because that I agree, but I think it only applies It applies mostly to the Dragon Star, a little bit to the Aya's homeland. I think if the whole zone was the brightness of base Omicron, I think it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the base Omicron though, I'm just seeing the neon lights.
That's true.
You know, of everybody, and then just darkness. That's all I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And just like again, I get the going for the moody aesthetic. I think going through it felt great. You get there, it's fucking dark and terrifying.
Yeah.
Kind of like somber,
Mhm.
which is great. But I'm done with the zone now.
Right.
And I need to go back there often.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that once I completed I guess this is kind of spoilers for like the Omicron tribe quest, but not really. I was kind of hoping it would get brighter when it was completed, but spoilers, it does not.
Oh,
No.
damn.
Are you telling me the planet isn't like a new nightlight? Come on.
I was hoping it would be, or like maybe bringing hope to all of the races in Ultima Thule might, like inspire. There's even a quest. A quick distraction. There's a quest about setting up lights on the Dragon Star.
Oh my god.
You never do it. You're just scouting places to put them up.
Jesus. Yeah. Well, music is another thing I was thinking about. Like a good track is one that you appreciate the first time you hear it, and then when you're still in the zone, you forget about it. Like it's just there, and you don't think about it.
I think the Tempest is a great example of that, especially, and I also think the Tempest works as a zone for like musical evolution, where like it's more of like an exploration-y, like underwater-y theme at first,
Yeah.
and then it becomes the somber, like ancient type theme once you hit the city.
When you get to the ticking clock in there, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so hot.
I was thinking about A Realm Reborn's music, and it's not. I'm trying to remember what they sound like. I do hear them like in my head.
Just here, I'm gonna say a little tune, and it's all gonna come back to you.
Yeah. Oh, but isn't that Limsa? That's Limsa.
That's all you get.
So thanks.
Every song is just Limsa.
Yeah. Oh God, I can't really think of any of them.
It's like Twilight over. Well, no, we don't.
Oh
use
yeah.
Twilight over.
No,
Thanaland
that's
in
1.0.
No, they don't. That's it's like something in the sun.
Yes.
To the sun, something like that. That's the Thanaland theme.
I mean, it's all very
but I think
Uematsu sounding esque.
I think that's very good design because you hear it when you go in and you're like, oh, this is the zone. But I can't really like I hear it, but I can't put it I can't like hum it. It's
right.
just
Actually,
the theme.
I'll say this, right? So the A Realm Reborn zone music is like it fades into the background very easily, which can be a plus. And I think like it's not bad music or anything. It's just it's kind of there for most people. But it makes the battle music and any other kind of music stand out a lot.
That's true.
So if when you're going from like and then you go into a fate and it's like hard to miss like with the violin.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, that like it stands out to you a lot more and it becomes a lot more memorable.
Yeah.
Though I don't think it has Realm Reborn has a lot of memorable field music that isn't.
But
I feel as if it serves its purpose. Like it doesn't overwhelm you and it doesn't become monotonous, especially because like it just goes silent at times.
Yeah.
A zone that like even though we were complimenting this zone at the start, a zone that has, I think, particularly monotonous music is Ilmeg. I think it's quite annoying to
yes.
listen to.
Yes.
Really?
I was waiting for this because that's the one thing that puts it down a level in my book is that the song is a lot. It is a lot. I'm not a fan of.
I have to listen to it real quick because I can't recall it right
The
now.
longer you stay in Ilmeg, the more infuriating that theme becomes.
Don't worry, you'll be spending some time in Ilmeg again soon.
Oh, it's true.
See, but that's how I feel about Labyrinthos. I hate the little toy soldier-esque. It drives me crazy.
I can see that, and that's definitely a complaint a lot of people have. It doesn't personally bother me.
No, yeah, I'm okay with
Labyrinthos' theme is the theme that I'm expecting Soken to come on to the next FanFest stage and play with his automaton.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think it doesn't even fit the area though.
Right.
Like I can't match like the toy box.
Like
aesthetic.
it because it's kind of like incongruous. Like it's presenting the zone as more whimsical than it actually is. It's hiding the mysteries
so
of
weird.
it.
Yeah. I was just going to mention something that we've sort of lost with after A Realm Reborn. I know how I keep holding on to A Realm Reborn. There's just the battle themes, aren't they? Or am I mixing this with 1.0? There are different battle themes for each zone.
In A Realm Reborn, yeah, there's a different battle theme for Thanalan, Lenosha, Black Shroud, Mordona, and Kurthus.
Yeah, which is
Whereas
something
after that,
we
expansions
lost.
have only like unique songs.
Yeah. Which is something I miss, kind of. It's like because they would have you would have a field theme, and then the battle theme would build on the field theme, so it would have that baked into it. Yeah,
God,
we did get a taste of it in Endwalker. Mare Lamentorum has a different battle theme when you're inside Bestaway Burrows.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I just wish they did go back to the more muted background theme, and then unique field battle theme. That along with like nighttime music, I think would be perfect. Because right now, going through Shadowbringers, hitting an enemy, and you're like, you know, an Amarang, and it's like
because it has to fade out and then fade in the battle theme,
and then it fucking fades in.
Shadowbringers suffers from having the worst battle theme, because it feels them. I don't even know if I'd say it's the worst battle theme. I just feel like it's so incongruous with every single zone theme in Shadowbringers.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like maybe you could make it work if you were in As Is La. Like the transition between As Is La's theme and the Shadowbringers battle theme might have worked better, but it just does not work with any Shadowbringers zone, in my opinion.
It just comes on so strong with that guitar and that lady singing, and it's just it was the first time I ever turned off battle music going through an expansion.
I did
and
too. I remember that. Yeah.
And it was I was on the other half of Amarang, or it was like 57, 56. I was like, I can't fucking do this.
No.
Like I like this song
because
I hate fighting an enemy.
Dude.
And just
we had the exact same experience in the exact same place because Amarang's theme was so like weird, and I was like, I want to hear this, and then and like, for fuck's sake, stop. So yeah, I turned it off.
Bring back unique battle. You could have gotten like a unique Amarang battle track, or maybe use this fucking guitar track somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not as it's just too much. It's
so
much.
intrusive when it comes. It's like, oh, here I am. It's battle time, baby. Which is why I like A Realm Reborn's approach, which the music is so quiet and calm that you barely notice it, and then it just fades out. You don't even notice that it's faded out, and then you start a battle, and you don't feel that like, oh, it has to turn down the field music and then turn off the battle music.
Because why does that work in the Realm Reborn overworld zones but not in the dungeons?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Debt, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's a good point. I don't know. A lot of A Realm Reborn is rushed a lot. So somehow though they struck some sort of balance with the field themes for somehow. I don't know. The dungeons are a tragedy because they only have like 10 seconds.
Chat brings up a really good point. Why is the Fate theme still the same after all these years?
Yeah.
I've just been I have Stockholm syndrome. I love it now. Shut up. I listen to it. I've gone through phases of like oh, this is cool new song just starting the game, and like, okay, I've heard this too much. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. And then just last year, I was like, actually, I love this. This is dope. I love it. Don't ever change it.
Well, it's this weird thing where I've said this before. It's like this 1.0 feat. They whittle away like weird 1.0 quirks slowly, and one of them is 1.0's music was like unique for everything. You picked up a leave quest in Thanalan, you get a Thanalan leave quests theme when you initiate that leave quest. You're doing a crafting. I don't think crafting had special. I think they always had the same one, but you know what I mean? Like the idea was that each zone had its own identity and the music reflected the identity. Mm-hmm. With A Realm Reborn, A Realm Reborn's because it was still being built sort of with did I say Realm Reborn? A Realm Reborn was built while 1.0 was still going, so they were still sort of using 1.0's design language. So that's why we have the unique zone music, with battles and stuff, gone from Heavensward. They could have done the same thing with Fates. They could have had unique themes for the Fates for each zone. It cannot be, because they no longer make new leave music, so they could have just used the resources they spent on that to make unique Fate music for each zone. Alas.
I mean, but now every dungeon has its own song now.
That's true. That is a good point. That is true.
We do
music has been spread out elsewhere.
But we only get one dungeon per patch, to be fair. I mean, it's not... If you make one... Because now we literally get one zone which has one type of music and the same battle music for the entire game. Mm-hmm. I mean, granted, we get a night and... Is there a night and day theme? Yeah, there is for Overworld.
Yeah, there's still night and day themes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Overworld and The Realm Reborn... No, there's no night theme in Realm Reborn.
Is there not? Oh, I guess. Okay.
No.
Does it just silence. Not play? Oh, it's just silence. Interesting.
Enjoy the silence.
Well, anyways, it would be nice to have different music for the Fates, like unique for if not each zone, for each expansion then. So you identify which Fate you're in, but I don't know.
Music really can make or break a zone sometimes.
Yes.
Like the god that again, I keep forgetting the name. The cliff one. What's the Mount Golg one? Kaluja. Hate that fucking theme. The light theme.
Oh yeah.
It was I hated it so. It was so droning, which I get all the light themes are kind of like that, but it's just. Actually, no.
Do you like?
Sorry, that.
Do you like the theme that plays in Kaluja once you actually clear the light?
The
current.
Oh. It's okay, but by the time you start hearing it, you're kind of already done.
I mean, you're not going to hear it until after you finish the game.
Yeah,
you never experience Kaluja during regular without being flooded by light until post game.
Yeah, like the flood of light version is like that's what I associate with Kaluja, not the current one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, I think we definitely have to wrap because we have a pretty beefy post show to get to as well. But yeah, there you go. That's what we think would make a zone good, I guess.
Take some notes, Yoshi P.
Yeah. When you
what we want from zones.
Yeah,
we'll probably talk because we don't have time. We'll probably do a different one about what zones we expect.
Oh yeah, we didn't even
a while
touch
from
on
now.
That. Yeah, a while from now, when we're closer to maybe expansion, we'll discuss that more. But now you know what we're looking for in a zone. That's it for the show. Thanks so much for watching. We will be back next week, same time, same place. If you're watching live, remember the poster is coming up. Remember to follow on Twitter at SpeakersXIV, twitch.tv/SpeakersOfIdle, and youtube.com/SpeakersXIV, Discord in chat if you want to join our Discord server. If you're watching on demand, links in the description. We'll be going into post show if you're watching live. See you there. Goodbye.
Bye.